Hello and welcome to my channel Inspiring Life Changes. My name is Colette and I'm here today to do the Gemini new moon, which took place on the 18th for some, mostly in Europe, and for the like parts of America, etc. It took place on the 17th, so it was just a little bit earlier than it was for us here in the UK, which is where I'm based, but I'm doing this a couple of days after the new moon has already taken place, so I will be talking about it in a retrospective fashion. I've just been so busy from Friday. I was going to do it Friday, and then I was going to do it Saturday, and then I was going to do it Sunday. But unfortunately I haven't been able to get round to doing it at all until today, and today's Tuesday, it's the 20th, it's the day before the solstice as well, so I will also incorporate some of the solstice energy into this new moon reading as well. So for anybody who's interested, there will be a link to your own personal birth chart in the description down below, so that you can go and find out for yourself what the planets are doing for you with regard to your own chart, your own personal chart. Just put in your time of birth, your date of birth and your place of birth, and you'll be able to, if you haven't already got your own personal birth chart, get that done for you. Also, there was something else I was going to say, but I'm just going to get straight into this. So we are dealing with a mutable new moon, the new moon in Gemini, which is all about communication, or a lot about communication, should I say. Gemini rules the logical brain, the conversation, the way that we talk, how we talk, what we say, why we say the things that we say, the way we say them. That kind of thing is very Gemini. And the new moon is all about beginning something. A new start is coming, beginning something afresh. So in Gemini, it could have something to do with a new narrative, a new way of looking at things or questioning things, because that's another very Gemini trait, is questioning. We're dealing with the third house as well. So behind me I have the cards for this new moon. I've separated them, so I've got the sun and the moon together over here, which is what always happens in a new moon. The sun and the moon come together, and then over here we've got Gemini, which here it says I think, but I prefer to think of it more as I communicate. I suppose I think is also a part of it, the thinking brain. It's in the third house, which is all about communication, as I was saying, the logical side of things, how we do things on a day-to-day basis. The Mercury is the ruler, and the Mercury is to do with the mind. It's also to do with messages and communication. It is the messenger of the gods. It's known as the messenger of the gods. And Mercury is never that far away from the sun either, so he's very particularly connected with the major energy source here as well. So source energy, source communication, if you like. Always passing on those messages, and he passes them on to other planets as well as he goes around the zodiac circle. And the air element, which is the last card here, is the element that is ruled, or is the ruler of Gemini energy. So once again, I would just like to bring it to people's attention that this new moon has come after, sorry, my hair's looking particularly weird, after this full moon that we've had in Sagittarius, which was previously 2 weeks ago. We've now got the new moon in Gemini, and really it should be the other way round, because Gemini is the it's before Sagittarius, so it's kind of like the early learning stage of things. It's kind of like the curiosity. If you think of a young child, it's probably round about the first early educational stage, or the age, so probably from about 4 years up to college age, really. So it's right the way through the whole of the educational school learning system for those children that go to school, and like for those parents who do homeschooling as well. It's like it's what you teach them on a personal level. So it's very relevant from the age of about 4 years old, I would say, when that kind of programming is going in, when the mind is like a sponge and it kind of just soaks up everything, which can also be kind of on a subconscious level as well. But that is very much the kind of theme of the Gemini energy. It's taking place, or it has taken place, should I say, at 26 degrees and 43 minutes of Gemini, so almost 27 degrees. So it's actually going into the Cancerian energy as well, which is interesting because we have the solstice where the sun is just about to enter the Cancer energy tomorrow. So it's already activating that 0 point of Cancer, which is also the cardinal energy. And so the cardinal energy is always about the axis mundi. It's the cardinal energies are the starting of something. So again, a major kind of like shift of energy. The solstice energy, it's but I will talk more about the solstice as I get further into this reading. So anyway, the new moon took place at 05:38 minutes here in the UK. Again, it would have been different for other parts of the world. And so it was making a square with Neptune at this time, which was quite challenging, shall we say, and it will continue to be challenging. The sun is still square to Neptune. The moon has kind of moved forward now, so the moon is no longer making that same challenge to Neptune, but the sun is going to continue to be in that energy for a little bit longer. Even when it moves into the Cancer energy, it will still be squaring the Neptune energy. So it's like the logical mind, the thinking mind, the kind of evidential kind of mind, the mind that wants to see things that make sense, kind of versus that more feeling, intuitive, knowing, trusting your own instincts kind of energy. So there has been like this conflict, or there is still this conflict, this battle going on between the thinking and the logical, which can cause a lot of inner conflict. It can also cause a lot of inner conflict with our communication with people as well. Like if we are more of a thinking type of person, we may find it very difficult to communicate with people who are much more intuitive and feeling. I would also like to say at this time as well that we could also be having conversations with complete random strangers that kind of like could be challenging, again, because it is square energy here. But Neptune energy is that, it's that nebulous energy, it's that can't quite put your finger on something energy, it's fantasy, it's that illusionary realm. And Gemini is very much the opposite. Gemini is very much kind of like very factual and very kind of like seeking out knowledge, but knowledge in the sense of it has to make sense. That's not to say that there isn't going to be other aspects in people's personalities and their own personal birth charts, which will kind of make things maybe not quite as strong as that. But if we're dealing with just the Gemini and the Piscean energies on a zodiac wheel, then that is what we're kind of having play out at this time, this kind of conflict, challenge between the logical mind and the very feeling, intuitive, knowing side of things. And to make things even kind of more bizarre at this time, or weird, or a little bit strange, we also have Neptune square the galactic center, and the galactic center is where all this kind of new information comes in from the galaxy, from the bigger universe, the bigger picture, because Sagittarius is all about the bigger picture, and Sagittarius is also opposite of Gemini, which is why we had that Sagittarius full moon before we had the Gemini new moon, because everything has kind of twisted and turned since the double new moons in Aries that we had recently. So we have stelliums happening at this time as well, which are quite interesting. We've got 3 sets of stelliums taking place here. But this, going back to this this galactic center energy, with Neptune, square to Neptune, so at this time it's opposing the Sun and the Moon in Gemini, the galactic center. So we have this T-square with this focus of attention on this Neptunian energy. And Neptune is very, very, like I said, it's very bizarre, it's very weird, it's very out there, it's very, it's a lot to do with our psychic awareness, our kind of picking things up on another level. And that's going to be very heightened at this time and for the next 2 weeks with this new moon energy, because this is where the energies were at the time of this new moon. But Neptune and the galactic center are going to be in this square for the next 2 years. So we're talking up until 2025. There's going to be, because Neptune is also going to be retrograding very soon as well. Did I write that right? Yeah, on the 30th of June. So Neptune is also slowing right down at this time, or beginning to slow right down at this time, because Neptune is such a huge, vast mass of dense planet that it takes a long time for it to kind of slow down, even though it doesn't actually do that. It's just from our perspective on the Earth. But as we move, it looks to us as though Neptune is reversing and going in a different direction. So, and that takes a long time for it to actually occur. So Neptune to us is appearing to slow right down. So that energy is becoming a lot more intense and a lot more like magnified at this time, because all planets, when they start to slow down, that energy and the themes around that energy all gets, or the themes around the planets always become a lot more intense, and they always become magnified. So we have this kind of focus at this time on this Piscean energy, square to the Sun and the Moon. And we also have Mercury in Gemini at this time as well, which is great for Mercury, because Mercury loves Gemini. Mercury is at home in Gemini. It is the ruler of Gemini. So it's feeling good. And Mercury is not actually sextile to Venus, and that's about all that Mercury's doing at this time. Venus being in Leo at 11 degrees, and Mercury is also in Leo at 11 degrees, almost 12 degrees, 11:52, so coming up for 12 degrees. But Mercury and Venus are very easygoing planets, I would say, in this sextile. It's an easy kind of flowing energy of reciprocative feelings of love in particular, because Venus is the planet of love. It is the planet of partnerships. It's the planet of our self-worth, what we give to ourselves, what we believe that we deserve, is really how I kind of see the Venus energy. And so Mercury is kind of having words with us at this time, having communication and conversations with us about our self-worth. Venus is in Leo. Leo is also about the self, the ego. So there's this nice kind of supportive energy here for Venus from this Mercury energy of understanding how we're feeling and what it is that we want to express and how we want to express it. And we want to express it in a very kind of passionate way, because Leo is a very passionate sign. It's a fire sign. It's very passionate. Leo says what it means, says how it feels. Leo doesn't tend to hold back on how they feel. So if a Leo says something, you can guarantee that they actually mean it, that they're actually saying how they feel. So at this time, if somebody kind of gives you an indication of how they're feeling about you, then you can take it as it's being a real expression of their true inner feelings. I have just noticed as well that Mercury is also in a square here with Saturn. So again, this Pisces energy, Saturn in Pisces at 7 degrees and Gemini with Mercury at 11 degrees. Again, that kind of intuition versus the thinking, logical mind. Saturn is also very restrictive. It likes to block. It likes to hold back. So there could be some communication that is being held back at this time. Things that we may want to say, but we may hold back on saying them until we feel ready, until we feel that we can approach this in the right way to say it, that's going to be responsible. There's a sense here of, because Mercury is sextile to Venus, so that's very supportive, but this square with Saturn is a bit of a challenge, a bit of a kind of like hold back, don't jump in. Make sure that you are feeling what you're feeling as well before you say what you want to say here as well. And again, this could have something to do with this, and this is something that I've been kind of like feeling over the last few days as well, as I've been kind of thinking about this Gemini new moon and what's coming up. This idea of random people just turning up in our lives, that just, for instance, at a bus stop, that we end up having these kind of like deep, meaningful conversations with, that could possibly change our perspective on things or our beliefs on things, the way that we look at the world, the way that we feel about something. It could just make us kind of question what it is that we have up until this point thought to be like solid and structured, our reality, our own solid structured reality. I just feel that there's kind of these outside conversations that, because they're coming from somewhere outside, from a stranger, from somebody who we're not closely connected with, it's almost like for some reason it's challenging, but also there's something about it that's going to make us be less defensive, if that makes sense. Less defensive, to actually to want to prove our personal point of view. I feel as though if it was somebody who we're very close to, we're much more likely to argue about it or discuss it or try to kind of change that person's point of view. But this isn't so much about changing somebody's point of view as just listening to the conversation, and as conversation kind of like goes along, kind of questioning your own structure, your own boundaries, your own, what it is that you yourself have kind of like limited yourself into thinking is real, versus what actually could be real and could come from, again, that kind of like very ambiguous kind of like nothing, like without real evidence, but just that feeling of kind of something not being right is also what I'm getting with this energy at this time as well. So if you do find yourselves having weird conversations with complete random strangers, then just kind of stay open, I think is probably the best way to deal with this, is kind of try and stay open to what these people or person is trying to say to you at that time. So what else do we have here? So also the Saturn energy, Saturn is now in retrograde as well. Saturn went retrograde on the 17th of June. So that was on the day of the new moon for some and the day before the new moon for others. So again, that Saturn energy is still being emphasized quite strongly as well. And in Pisces, Saturn, and I've said this before, Saturn for me in Pisces, it kind of feels like, my cats always have to get up there when I'm doing a video. It kind of feels like, come on, eat this. That it's breaking down. It's breaking down our boundaries. It's breaking down our structure. It's breaking down our the solidness of what we believe life, the way life is. It's breaking down those built up kind of towers, if you like, those structures of like, this is how it is, this is how it's always been, this is how it's always going to be. It's like Pisces is so what's the best way to express it? Pisces is like an ocean of like mysticism for want of a better word. It's like anything is possible with the Pisces energy, because it does rule the kind of like mystical, the magical, the occult, the psychic realm, the intuitive, the feelings, which are also very, like, if you think of feelings, they're not logical. They're not a logical thing. You can't kind of structure your feelings as such, even though like we may want to try. There's something about that is kind of like, it just is. It is what it is. So this Saturn energy could also be expressing a side of extreme restriction and blockages, and trying to really kind of put everything into like compartmentalization, because that is also another thing about Geminis. It does like to compartmentalize everything so that it's kind of got everything ordered and knows where things are, similar to the Virgo energy, because Mercury rules Virgo as well. So there is this kind of like need for Gemini in the mind to kind of like have things in order, or it's much easier to find things, if you like, when things have been I'm kind of thinking OCD now as well, is kind of coming into my head here as well. The idea that you know, OCD being something that is like everything has to fit in a certain way. In a way, it's like or everything has to be in alphabetical order, or like from big to small, or like the chaos and the randomness is kind of like something that can be very disturbing. And that's kind of what I think this Saturn energy at this time is going to be emphasizing, if you like, is it's kind of trying to get everything into some kind of orderliness. Because then it's much easier to control it. But in Pisces, again, Pisces has no boundaries. Pisces has no limitations as well. Pisces, no boundaries, no limitations. And I just feel as though it's just kind of wearing away at this Saturn. If you think of a rock that is being kind of pounded constantly by the waves, by the ocean, it will get worn down. It will become something else. It will end up being a small pebble on a beach after a while, or sand, because it will just get worn down and worn down and worn down. And that's kind of how I'm feeling this Saturn energy at this time. It's just going to get worn down the more that it tries to enforce and structure. The more it's going to find itself being like waves, being washing over. And the waves being the people, the waves being the kind of like the intuitive psyche that is kind of like the 100th monkey in a way, that intuitive, like once you get to like 20% of something, then that can shift things in a big way. 20% is all that's needed for a new meme or a new idea or a new paradigm to come through. And I think that's where we're really getting to, that point of this new paradigm breaking through. And I think part of this is to do with this Saturn in Pisces energy. And as I was saying, like Saturn is retrograde now. It has been very magnified, its energy. Neptune just about to go retrograde, but its energy is already slowing down. So the Pisces energy itself is very much in play at this time. And Pisces is also, or Neptune, sorry, should I say, is also sextile with Pluto, as Pluto has now retrograded back into Capricorn at 29 degrees 52 now. So he's coming out of the Aquarian energy back into the Capricorn energy to finish off what he started back in 2008. And if you listen to people, particularly in the financial world, because Capricorn is ruled by Saturn, it's all about structure, it's also about the governments, those that govern, that rule. It is the top of that pyramid, that so-called kind of pyramid where everybody else is at the bottom, and then you've got these kind of elites at the top. That is the Capricorn energy. It is the tower. It is those that are like higher up, looking down on everybody else. But Pluto is all about transformation and sextile this Neptune energy. It's like the time has come. It's like the time is coming stronger and stronger for this tower to topple, basically. Pluto is going in to really kind of like take out the last remaining structure or the scaffolding, or however you like to see it, of this establishment, of this like world establishment, and the way that we have been over the last what's built up over the last 250 years, because we've also had, don't forget, that powerful Saturn-Pluto conjunction that happened in Capricorn as well back in 2020, and that is still kind of like affecting us 3 years down the line. It hasn't just kind of stopped there in 2020. It's still, that transformational energy is still ongoing. The Pluto energy of impermanence, of things that cannot last forever. And because we're dealing with two major outer historical planets here, both Neptune and Pluto being generational energies, which mean that generations will be born with these planets in the same place. So as these generations grow up and come into their own, they will also play a part in the new paradigm, in the new energy that's coming in. There's always this new push from behind, from the younger generations, to change what is outdated, what is the status quo. And this has been going on a long time. And there has been ways, particularly with this Neptune energy, of being able to kind of manipulate as well, because it can be, Pisces can also be a manipulative energy, and so can Pluto as well. So the two together can also be, again, Pluto is that energy of the kind of darker side of mysticism as well. Neptune is also hypnotism, that kind of thing. I always kind of think of Neptune as being like very much involved in like filmmaking, for instance, that kind of thing, where the message is being put out there to kind of like go into the brain on a kind of subconscious level, and to change the way that people think very subtly, very, very subtly, because Neptune is a subtle energy. But this Neptune and Pluto energy are sextile at this time. So again, it is supportive energy. It is helping us to break through the mind manipulation, the mind hypnosis, which has got a lot to do with education as well, which I actually want to just bring your attention. Oh, everything's going to fall down. It was me rather than the cat. I thought that was going to be the cat that would do that. But when I was shuffling these cards earlier today, this card came out first for the reading. Pardon me. And this is learning, as it says on the bottom there, and it is a very Gemini energy. And I thought, oh, that's really interesting, because that is like the child, as I was talking about earlier, the child energy, the kind of curious energy, learning, growth. And then this card came out with it as well, and I decided to keep both of them. This one is the sincere relationship, but again it looked very Gemini to me, the twins, duality. There was something very Gemini about that whole card, so I thought, right, well, they've come out together, so I might as well take them together. So I'm actually going to just quickly read what they say as well, because I do think it's very relevant. I know I do go off on tangents. I don't always stay on course, but I'm going to read this 25 learning and tell you what it says about this particular energy, this Gemini energy here. It says, as humans, we are perpetually learning and growing. Learning to handle emotions comes from attentiveness. Managing stress, anxiety, and anger is a learned skill. Understand what sets off your distress or anger. Choose how you will respond to your triggers more effectively. Persist with this approach until it becomes an automatic response. Which again is very Gemini. It is that automatic side of our mind, of our brain. It's like the doing something almost robotically, because you're just so used to doing it. You know exactly what you're doing. You don't even have to think about it. Like when you learn to drive and you get in the car and you know exactly what you're doing, and you almost do it like on automatic pilot, so to speak. So you may feel you are resistant to learning the lesson at hand. The reasons for resistance vary. It may be stubbornness, habit, or a self-destructive pattern, which can also be Piscean energy as well. Pisces can be very self-destructive, and it is square to this sun and this moon at this time. During times of conflict, your lesson may be more crisis-oriented. You may be in denial about something in your life. It can be hard to face your fears and admit weakness. Issues may build to a point where you need to address your reactions. Be honest with yourself. You are in an addictive cycle. Sorry, are you in an addictive cycle? Are you accepting responsibility for your role in this situation? Which again can be very Saturn type of energy as well. Saturn in Pisces can be very addictive oriented, because Pisces is about addiction as well. Abuse, that kind of thing, is quite Piscean energy. Self-abuse. You may need an outside source to help you break out of a pattern, which is that Gemini energy again as well. So it's very interesting how this seems to be fitting so well. And again, it could be that just having a conversation with somebody just kind of awakens something that you hadn't even thought of yourself. Once you recognize an unhealthy pattern, you can learn how to improve your existing situation. Try new approaches and be open to not knowing what will happen next. Ask to learn this lesson with grace. A child holds a single stalk of wheat. So try not to let it be too shiny there. With a ladybug on it. Wheat denotes the use of caution and wisdom. The child studies the ladybug to learn what she is going to do. The ladybug represents delight and a knowing that cannot be taught. Can you remember how you were as a child? Children are often able to create exactly what they want through positive thinking, resourcefulness and persistence. Throughout life you have learned to doubt and fear. Be like a child, willing to learn and in awe of the world around you. The butterflies in this picture are symbols of transformation. Again, that Plutonian energy. If you are willing to work on this situation, transformation is inevitable. The prevalence of green means healing, and abundance are not far from you. And I really do think that that's kind of also to do with this energy that is coming through from the galactic center, which is going to be, like I said, square with Neptune for the next 2 years, but it is also opposing this new moon and this full moon, new moon in Gemini, sorry. So it is very strong at this time. This galactic energy, this new energy coming in is going to be affecting us. It's going to be affecting the way that we think. It's going to be affecting the way that we do things. Even our language changing as well. Even down to kind of new ways of speaking, or language changing, like new ways of communicating. Language is always changing. It never stays the same, which is why we don't speak in Old English any longer, because language has changed and evolved, which again is very Plutonian energy here as well. So and Pluto is also semi-sextile, this galactic energy at this time at 29 degrees, and he's going to remain semi-sextile to the galactic center, because he is going to go back to that 27 degrees of Capricorn as well. So he's also playing quite a big part in the evolution of all of this as well. So I will read this other card in a minute, but I want to just talk a wee bit more about the energies that we're dealing with here. So as I was saying, we have stelliums. So a stellium, for those who aren't aware, is when we have 3 planets or energies in the same sign. So with Gemini we've got Mercury, the Sun and the Moon. In Taurus we've got the North Node, we've got Jupiter and Uranus, so we've got a stellium there as well. And then in Leo we have Venus, Mars and Black Moon Lilith. So we've got 3 sets of stelliums going on at this time. And also, again, I would like to kind of pull your attention to the fact that apart from Neptune, Saturn and Pluto, which are that kind of bigger, outer, more historical kind of energies, as I've been talking about before, all of the planets and the points as well, the energies, all of it are still in with this Gemini new moon, are all in the very personal signs, which are the first 6 signs of the zodiac, are all very personal related signs. Whereas after after Virgo, we go in, there is nothing in Virgo at this time, but after Virgo we go into the more outer energies, if you like, so more kind of like to do with our outer lives rather than our inner personal lives. So this has been going on for a while, so all of this stuff at this time is very much on a personal basis. So it's very much about, for me, I feel as though it's very much about our awareness of ourselves and how this affects us individually. All of this, everything that we're going through, it feels very individual. All of us are having our own personal journey, but it's almost like the planets are kind of really focusing our attention on this at this time and saying, look, you know, you have to be aware that you are the source of your creative journey. You are the source of what it is that you allow into your world or don't allow into your world. You are the creators, is basically what I feel that this is saying, because it is all so very personal, from Aries right the way through to the Virgo energy. But at this moment we've just got it through to the Leo energy. So I do feel as though it's a very personal kind of time in our lives, when we really need to focus on ourselves, on our own experiences, our own journeys, because only by doing that can we then kind of make a difference to everything outside. Okay, so what else do we have? This energy with the Leo energy here, which is square to a lot of the Taurus energy as well. So again, more kind of conflicts going on there as well, more challenges with the Taurus and the Leo energy. And I will, before I forget, also say that this new moon energy, for anybody who's got anything in the sign of Gemini, from the 21 degrees of Gemini up until the end of Gemini, like the 29 degrees 59 minutes, you will be feeling this on a personal level. And also anybody who's got anything at those early degrees of Cancer, up to about 2 degrees of Cancer, because the sun is going to be activating, and so saying that solstice energy tomorrow as it moves into the Cancer sign. And of course Cancer energy is about the mother as well, so that is kind of like bringing all of that energy into play as well. So every year on the 21st of June with the summer solstice, it's also about that very feminine energy, because the sun is literally energizing that energy. So that's going to be interesting as well, because there is again kind of squares happening still, and still some kind of conflict and inner challenges taking place there. Cancer also being about our past as well, our emotional roots. Also it being, as I was saying, the Axis Mundi point as well, so things playing out on the stage, the world stage, are going to be those Cancerian type of energies. We're going to see those highlighted at this time as well, around the idea of the mother, the home, security, safety, protection. Cancer is that womb energy. It is that safe, secure energy of being held and loved. which not everybody gets to experience. I am well aware of that as well. Not everybody gets to experience that in the way that they should, in that sense. But we can expect to kind of see themes around the Cancer energy come to light over this next month or so as the sun moves through Cancer. We also have Mars connecting with Black Moon Lilith in Leo, and I've spoken about this before as well, and I still think that it's happening, and I still think that behind the scenes there is a lot of things going on. Black Moon Lilith is the taboo, things that you don't talk about, things that you keep hidden, things that you don't want other people to know about unless they are also of that same like mind, particularly sexually. Black Moon Lilith deals with sexual taboos, things that are not normal and are not supposed to be seen as normal because they go against what is natural. And Mars, that kind of activating warrior energy, is going to highlight this in Leo. And so we're going to see a lot of both sides of that as well with this Gemini new moon here. Gemini being all about duality, two sides to every story. Also about media. We are going to see, I feel, a lot of like both sides of that spectrum, both ends of it, like those who oppose and those who are for something. Because there are certain, and I've said this before as well, certain lines that you should not cross when it comes to nature, and unfortunately those boundaries are being pushed further and further and further out all the time. And particularly when it comes to children, which is that Gemini energy again, education of children, what they're being taught, how they're being taught it, who's teaching them what. That's all going to come under the spotlight. It's all going to come under the spotlight quite strongly with this Mars activating Black Moon Lilith. He's already activating that energy, but he's also just about to go over Black Moon Lilith as well and really kind of set things off. What else do we have? Oh yeah, Uranus is also, like I was saying, the square energy. So Uranus is at 21 degrees of Taurus at this time. Uranus being the shocker, the awakener, the unexpected, the out of the blue, the kind of bolts of lightning kind of realization about things as well. He is square to this Black Moon Lilith and Mars energy. So we can expect to see things kind of that are going to, again, I feel kind of knock us sideways for those, especially for those who are completely unaware or oblivious or don't want to acknowledge what is happening with the children, what is happening with the educational system, and how corrupt and degraded and debauched it has become when it comes to what's being taught to the youth of today, which has got a lot to do, I feel, as well with this Neptune energy as well. And I also feel it's got a lot to do with Eris in Aries as well, And I have spoken about that before as well. I think Eris kind of that masculine Aries warrior energy is very much being questioned by Eris at this time. The whole thing about toxic masculinity. I think there is something to be said for that. I do think that there can also be an extreme to that as well, because Eris can be and is in fact very extreme in her behaviour. So I think that what we're seeing is that extreme side of Eris in Aries, kind of forcing the kind of shifting, the changing of gender, if you like. Eris is that warrioress energy, the activistic warrioress energy. But I do feel that that it is playing a part at this time with everything that's going on, because Aries is also is also about the self, very much about the self, very much about the I am. What else have we got here? We also have Chiron trine this Mars and this Black Moon Lilith as well. Chiron's at 19 degrees in Aries, and so he is trining Mars at 16 degrees of Leo and Black Moon Lilith at 17 degrees of Leo. So they are conjunct. So again, it feels like this healing crisis, but it's something that is also very positive. I feel as though it's, because it's a trine, it's like a positive energy. It's something that needs to take place, something we all need to be aware of and looking at and focusing our attention on at this time, because it feels as though it's kind of something that's been happening in the background, and it's only now that it's coming out into the spotlight, into the obvious awareness. And as it does so, as it shifts from being behind the scenes into that spotlight, particularly with this Mars energy here as well, and Venus is going to become involved in this as well. So Venus is going to kind of also be trining to Chiron very soon. So she is also going to be kind of softening that energy, if you like, and bringing in that love for something that has been very painful and very dark and wounding, which is where the Chiron energy comes in as well. The healing of the deep wound, because this is ancestral as well. I mean, this kind of thing has been happening generationally for historically. I mean, it's just something that has been going on, but it's only now that it's really coming out into our society in a way that's being pushed to try and make it something that is acceptable, that crossing the line of sexuality, and particularly with children. And I don't really want to say any more than that, because I think my channel is already kind of shadow banned or visibility blocked, or whichever words that they prefer to use, so that they can get away with censoring, etc. So there is a healing. There is a mass healing that is taking place here as well. But it's only going to take place because people are going to start to care more with this Venus energy here as well. People are going to start to care more and to put more of their own love into this, their own compassion into this, I feel as well. But the more we become aware of it, the more we're going to, the more we focus our attention on it, the more love and healing that we send that particular situation, the more it will be healed, the quicker it will be healed as well, generationally as well, because Chiron is also about generations. It's also about our own past lives, healing of our own past lives. And there's also a sense of like, you know, this could be your child that this could happen to as well. This could be your innocent child that this is happening to, particularly when it comes to the educational system. Because if you take those boundaries away, then a child has no problems with it. It doesn't have any boundaries. It doesn't have any limitations to something that is wrong. So I do feel that there is going to be this kind of mass coming together over this somehow. And Jupiter is also sextile to Saturn as well here. Jupiter is in Taurus at 6 degrees 55, so again almost 7 degrees of Taurus. So sextile Saturn. Jupiter is also kind of magnifying this side of Saturn as well, magnifying, supporting. Again, I feel as though it's more to do with making us aware of that how can I put this? Making us aware of the control system that is out there, the control, the global idea, because Jupiter is expansive. Jupiter takes in everything. It magnifies everything. So we are dealing with something, Sagittarius energy, the bigger picture. So we are talking global control here as well. And Jupiter is also conjunct the North Node as well. So it's kind of waking that that understanding up again. It's like bringing our attention and our focus to that Saturn energy and saying, look, you know, this is a potential, this is possible for us to be in this like prison. Like, because if you think of a tower, it can be a prison, you know, like structure around you. A lot of it is our own personal prison as well. What we allow ourselves to believe is true. Jupiter is also about belief systems, and so we can restrict ourselves and allow ourselves to be restricted. So there's also this element of needing to break free, because Jupiter is also freedom. North Node is where we're heading. Is at the very end of Taurus, 1 degree 17 minutes, and it's going to be moving into Aries in July. So again, all that energy is going to shift. There's going to be a complete shift of our focus of attention from that kind of Taurus self-worth into the Aries kind of I am, and focusing on our needs. But at this time, this Jupiter energy with Saturn, I feel, is kind of releasing. It almost feels like unlocking, somehow unlocking a door, helping to unlock a door. Showing the bigger picture, showing that there is more to life than allowing ourselves to be restricted, to be kind of like herded into a certain construct, is what I'm getting from this. That there is this breaking free, questioning, through the questioning, kind of finding the bigger picture, seeing the bigger picture, understanding how we've been limited, how we've allowed ourselves to be limited. And that is all part of the breaking down of that structure. Okay. So I think that's pretty much covered all of the major planets here. But I would quickly just like to talk a wee bit about Ceres, talk about the lesser known energies. So I'm going to start with Ceres, who is the goddess of agriculture, who's at 29 degrees and 12 minutes of Virgo. So she is at this time opposing this Neptune energy as well. Ceres, I like to think of Ceres as the ruler of Virgo in many ways, or one of the rulers of Virgo, seeing as she is all about agriculture, and Virgo is seen as being the kind of the harvesting energy, that time of harvesting what we've planted, what was sown earlier. But Ceres is now also, I think, has she stopped being retrograde maybe? But she's also square the sun and the moon as well, so she is also playing a part in this Gemini new moon energy. So I feel as though we're going to be hearing more about some weird kind of like ideas here, because she's also square the galactic center here as well, which I didn't really think about until now either. So we do actually have a mutable square happening here with this Gemini new moon, Neptune in Pisces, the galactic center, and Ceres at 29 degrees. And she's also trying to Pluto as well at 29 degrees of Capricorn. So I do feel as though there's kind of something around the whole food industry that is going to shift, evolve, Again, I just feel as though it could have something to do with the basic health of food, the nutritional value of food, because Ceres was also very much the soil goddess. She was actually about how, like, the quality of the soil that the seeds were planted in as well. So this could very much kind of come to play a part here as well at this time, that we could be questioning this idea of our food, nutrition, the soil itself that it's grown in, this galactic energy coming through as well. And yeah, with this Neptune energy, this opposing Neptune energy, because like I was saying, Neptune is about fakery, fantasy, falseness. Which we are, you know, a lot of our food is fake. A lot of it is created in an unnatural way, you know. I mean, there's talk about all sorts of weird ideas coming out of how food is going to be created, literally created in laboratories rather than being grown in the soil. And there's always things about farmers at this time as well. I don't know if anybody's been paying any attention to the news. Not that you hear much on the mainstream, that's not where I've been hearing it, but I've been watching certain alternative things, and of course we've had the farmers in the Netherlands who've all been told that they're not allowed to own their farms anymore, let alone actually farm on them. So farming is becoming a dying skill, a dying art. But I also feel as though it's going to transform away from the big industries and back to the smaller, like more homegrown, more naturally grown. People are going to turn back to good food, to nutritious food. Because Virgo is also about health as well. Health, diet, what's good for us. So all these things are going to be taken into consideration, especially as this is like being at a crossroads, literally. We have this mutable, which is very changing. Mutable energy is changing. It's like nothing is fixed yet. Nothing has been decided. There's still time to change your mind. There's still time to go from one idea to another idea. Sorry about my phone. I can't do anything about that this time. So I do feel as though it's so my brain's kind of switching off. So, sorry, my focus of attention is kind of over there at this time. This is a phone call is from a woman that I'm kind of looking after. A couple of times a week as a friend. So kind of befriended her, and she kind of phones me up and fills me in on all the information. So that's what's happening at this time. Please just ignore that. Hopefully you won't be able to hear too much of what's going on in that conversation. And again, kind of as I was saying, this kind of mutable square or cross, sorry, that we have at this time, it's an energy of flexibility, of things still changing. So nothing has been decided when it comes to the idea of health or our food, or even though it seems very much as though the big industries, the big like conglomerates, those that kind of try to control again the whole kind of health system, have kind of made up their mind and they're already taking over. It feels as though this is not fully what's happening. She's left the phone on, I'm afraid, so it will finish in a bit, but she has a habit of doing this, so I apologise. I wasn't sure if she would be phoning me today or not, so I apologise for the fact that she's left her phone on. So what I'm going to do at this time is I'm going to read about the sincere relationships, because that's kind of come up in my head. So we're on page 29 here, sincere relationships. So it says, bring your awareness to the people you surround yourself with. Toxic associations can create stress, sadness, apprehension, and other negative emotions. It is important that you are honest about how you feel about your most significant relationships. This is not limited to romantic relationships and may include an employer, a family member, or a friend who has a lot of influence in your life. Consider whether a relationship is causing you unnecessary stress. Is your social life a source of negativity? This exercise is not about blame. You are simply deciding how your various relationships affect your emotional energy. If there is tension in a relationship, try having a healthy conversation with the individual involved. Take responsibility for your role in this situation, but be clear on what it is that you want as an outcome. Examine how you relate to the people who you meet. Having healthy relationships brings health to your life. If a relationship is sincere, the communication is relaxed there. Is honesty, both parties feel empowered, and your life is truthfully better with this person in it. Two nature pixies, which is interesting because I was just talking about nature and natural food, hug as they look out over a beautiful landscape that is both snowy and filled with flowers. Strong relationships are not seasonal, sorry, get that right, are not seasonal or available only when it is convenient. When you are in an ideal relationship, you can find the beauty, grace and charm of the people you are with. The butterflies fluttering around the flowers indicate you are more than capable of making the changes needed to create loving and positive relationships. The flowers represent blessings, protection and potential growth for all involved. The bird is a messenger. There is a situation before you that needs to be met head on. You deserve to have relationships that are loving and supportive of you. Having sincere, optimal relationships will be so much healthier for you in the long run. And that can even be a relationship with our food as well. What we put into our bodies. How much do we, again, that idea of self-worth. What do we believe we deserve? What is our relationship to ourselves when it comes to our taking care of our needs? So I would also say that that sincere relationship can also be about a relationship with ourselves, being honest with ourselves, because what we put into ourselves also creates who we become, who we are. And the more toxic poison that we put into our system via our diet and the food that we buy and eat, the more we are going to be a reflection of that when it comes to our health, our way of thinking, the way that we talk, the way that we communicate and express to people, and the relationships that we have with others as well. I think it's all connected, it's all interrelated. There is no separation from any of it. So that is quite interesting for both of those. Oh, unfortunately my cards are falling down now as well. See if I can put this one in here without knocking everything over. Yes, success. Okay. We also have Humia, who is the energy of like volcanic energy, eruptive energy. She's the creator goddess of Hawaii, and she is in Libra. She's gone from being in Scorpio, which she entered a few months back, and now she's gone back into the very last degrees of Libra. And she is also T-square with Pluto, and so she's also conjunct the South Node and posing the North Node as well. So Humia at 29 degrees of Libra and the South Node at 1 degrees 17. Now the South Node is our karmic past. It's what we need to let go of, what we are no longer needing to carry with us on a kind of evolutionary collective level. And it's in Scorpio, so it's all about those scorpionic energies. Scorpio being that kind of darker side of the Taurus self-worth. Scorpio can be very much about our in this case I feel as though it's to do with, I'm just going to move this light a bit closer. In this case I feel as though it's to do with the it's to do with the shadow, the darker side of things. It's ruled by Pluto, so it is all about the underworld as well. It's about releasing the, I mean, I kind of see Scorpio as the emotional graveyard. It's kind of that place where we store all our unwanted emotions that we don't want to look at, we don't want to acknowledge, we don't want to have anything to do with. So it's kind of saying that we really need to release all of that stuff on a kind of collective energy level as well. All that stuff that has happened historically in some way as well that we've not really acknowledged or accepted or come to terms with. And so Humia is also that kind of volcanic, eruptive energy that is also square to Pluto as well. So it's quite volatile. This whole thing is quite a volatile kind of energy here that we're in. And we could literally find more volcanoes erupting at this time as well. There's a lot more activity on the sun at this time. A lot more energy coming off of the sun affecting our planet, so we could find a lot more actual volcanic eruptions and things. But I also feel as though this is also us kind of coming to the end of this this dark tunnel. With Scorpio energy, I do tend to see it as a kind of dark tunnel energy of like having to go through the dark night of the soul to come out into the light. And Humia is kind of like if you think of a volcano, that hot lava, that kind of like volcanic eruptive force right there next to the south node, the karmic fated south node, and also connecting in that square energy with Pluto. And this T-square here, because she's also opposing the north node as well, which is where we're aiming, where we're heading karmically as a collective. So this T-square is actually focusing its attention on Pluto. Again, that 29 degrees of Pluto. All the 29 degrees of any sign is always a critical. So you've got Ceres at 29 degrees. You've got Humia also at 29 degrees. So Ceres and Humia are actually semi-sextile here as well. So there's a lot of 29 degrees, and it is a critical, it's called the anaretic degree. It's the last degree of any sign. It's a dangerous, volatile place for any planet to be. It's like critical. It's like things could suddenly happen that could, here I feel as though it could kind of blow up very suddenly. And again, I'm kind of connecting it with this Black Moon Lilith kind of energy, like something could just blow very fast, very suddenly, very kind of like in your face kind of energy. Because it is very, like, yeah, we've got 29, 29 and 29 3 times here. And I also think, I could be wrong, but I think it might also be quincunx. Oh no, no, it's actually trining. It's actually trining the new moon as well. Or it has trined the new moon, because I am doing this in past tense. I must keep forgetting. So yeah, the Humia at 29 degrees of Libra is actually trining the Gemini energy with that new moon as well. So yeah, it does feel as though things could just kind of like erupt. Very suddenly. And not just volcano-wise, but kind of like scandal, secrets coming to the top, to the surface. Things that have been hidden coming out, causing a major eruption. Possibly politically as well, because with the Pluto energy at 29 degrees Capricorn, we are dealing with politics, we are dealing with governments, establishment. So that is also a possibility that there could be this, and the South Node is also square to this Pluto energy now as well, and it will remain so for a little bit longer until it shifts into the Libra energy, and even then it will still continue to be in square with Pluto. This is also a long-lasting T-square, and again that Pluto energy being the energy of transformation, evolution, change, impermanence, nothing staying the way that it has. And sometimes these things have to be done in a way that is disruptive, because it's the only way that some things as big as they are, and as long as they've been ingrained in our society and our psyche, can actually change and become something new, some rebirth out of it. And of course we're also dealing with the US energy here as well, that 27 degrees of Pluto's return, which Pluto is once again going back to. So again, massive change, massive change is happening here. And we've also still got Eris, sorry, before I forget, Eris is also sextile the moon and the sun at this time as well. And she's also semi-sextile to Uranus again, so could be more explosive, kind of like out of the blue, like, yeah, communication, or like something triggered, something triggering something off is also what I'm getting here. Eris in Aries, triggering energy. Something is kind of going to trigger something here, which is going to kind of have a knock-on effect. As we've got Make in Libra, retrograde still, so he's still going back. He's at 7 degrees 48 now. He's still square Pholus and Qua, and opposing Salacia. So Make is opposing Salacia. Pholus and Qua are still in Capricorn at 8 degrees. So again, that Capricorn energy is being focused on. There's a T-square going on here as well. Salacia is bringing up the dirt, shall we say, from the depths. Libra is all about justice, and Make is very much the karmic, universal kind of debt to be paid, in a way, if you like, because of the actions that have already happened. But again, because it's a kind of very far out energy in the Kuiper belt, which is beyond Neptune, we're also dealing with long-term energy here, so long-term karmic debt of things that have kind of like historically happened on a collective level. A kind of being being lived out, really, at this time. And this Pholus Qua energy as well, like Pholus takes about 98 years to go round the sun. It's quite quick moving energy, Pholos. But again, I think Pholos retrograde at this time or not? He was retrograde. Yeah, he's still retrograde. Pholos is still retrograde. So he's also at 7 degrees and 39. So the square between Maki and Pholos is very, very strong at this time. And Pholos is that energy of, I've spoken about this before, the kind of sudden death kind of energy. Something that happens suddenly, again out of the blue, unexpectedly. Something that you can't stop, that it has an ongoing kind of quick reaction. And I do feel that this has also got a lot to do with justice coming for the medical procedure that we have had to deal with over these last 3 years, which even today is still being forced and enforced, even though there's a lot of evidence to the contrary of its benefits. So that's interesting, talking about benefits, because Jupiter is a very beneficial planet, and Jupiter in Taurus is actually trine to this Pholos and Qua energy. So as I was saying, Pholos takes 98 years to go around the sun, but because of his highly elongated cycle, he stays in Capricorn for 20 years. So he's going to be there for 20 years, for, well, possibly another 15 or so years. I don't know exactly when he moved in, but he's still in the very early stages, really. He hasn't come out the first decan, like the first 10 degrees of Capricorn. So he reached about 8 degrees and then he retrograded back again, and he'll continue to do this for quite some time yet. So again, we're dealing with the establishment and the idea of governance, the idea of being told what to do and how to live our lives, and Maki square to that in that sign of Libra, of justice and fairness, and there is this battle going on here between what's right and what's wrong in many ways. And Qua is an interesting energy as well. Qua originated from the Indians, the North American Indians of the basin, the Los Angeles Basin, the Tonga tribe, I think they were known as. But again, this is to do with the creation. So Maki is also a creation god. Qua is a creation god as well. He sang the world into creation. And he's conjunct to Pholos at this time as well. So this is kind of, it feels like I feel like this like connection of Pholos and Qua together is kind of creating creating a kind of like a new understanding of boundaries. Not quite sure what that is exactly. But Qua takes 288 years to go round the sun. So he's a lot slower moving than Pholos. So Qua is going to be in Capricorn for a lot longer than Pholos will be. So it does feel as though it's kind of creating a new structure, because Capricorn is structure, it is that kind of building of things. And these are new energies as well. These are energies that are just kind of coming into our psyche, that we're just kind of becoming aware of. So it does feel as though Qua is kind of bringing in a new vision. Which is not as I don't want to use the word solid, but not as rigid as the way we have been governed. Is what I'm getting, this kind of new way of self-governance, even being square to Make is very much about self-justice, self-governance, like he's the higher 5D kind of vibration of Saturn. So whereas Saturn is our kind of last planet that we can see with the naked eye, so it kind of rules the 3D domain, Make is the next level up from Saturn, so he's much more universal energy. But that's kind of how it's feeling. And I also feel as though it's going to come from this medical procedure and this this drive for justice, this drive for not just justice, but like for betrayal, the betrayal that has been put on the people, how we've been betrayed by those that we trusted, those in the establishment who we thought had our best at heart, or a lot of people did think they had our best at heart, and so they just went along without questioning. And the consequences from that have been devastating and still are devastating. And so I do feel as though something is going to come out of that, which is going to change it's going to make a big difference to a lot of things. A lot of things. Qua is also about transformation as well. I've just got this little bit here about so Qua is supposed to be, after something bad comes something new, some new expansion of consciousness. A price must be paid, a painful process before something new happens, a break with something, a break with the past, so that we can move into something new. Something must die first and then something happens, something new that is beyond death, Because of the tongue of association, the symbolism of choir may be connected with creating through dance or rhythmic creations. So that's all very interesting. So it is about change. It is about something new coming out of that process, even though the process is a painful one. It is like something, I wouldn't say reward as such, but it's like something good coming out of something bad. So that's also very relevant at this time as well. And that's, again, this long ongoing T-square that we have at this time. That's something that, like, we're still hearing a lot about this medical procedure, and all the companies that were involved are still very much in the awareness. So we also have Characlo in Aquarius as well, so she is also opposing this energy. Characlo is the energy of holding space, like sacred space. She holds a sacred space so that something can be healed, transformed, accepted. And she's opposing the Mars and the Black Moon Lilith energy as well. So again, there's this sense of, with Chiron here as well, Chiron is the husband, or Characlo is the wife of Chiron. So there is this kind of deeper connection going on here at this time as well, which I also feel has got a part to play in this. She's actually at 12 degrees Aquarius and Chiron's at 19. So there's this kind of like dance going on between them. They're kind of semi-sextile, or sextile here, sorry, not semi-sextile, they are sextile here. And they are both making a connection with this Mars and Black Moon Lilith energy at this time as well. So again, it's kind of like with the Venus energy coming in, kind of helping to heal something through the light, through the through the acceptance of something. And I think that it's just being heard that is going to be part of the healing for these people who are in that process at this time as well. It's the hearing somehow, the understanding, the no longer being ignored or denied is a major part of this healing process. And I feel as though that's down to us, that's our part to play in this, is no longer denying, no longer ignoring, and actually doing, like even the non-action but holding that space is going to be very important for those healers who can hold that space, because Characlo, I feel, is very much a healer's energy. She didn't actually do the healing, it was Chiron who did the healing, but Characlo would hold that space for him to do that healing in, which is just as important. Now we still have Thereus and Orcus both in Virgo. There is the energy of spying, stalking, taking away someone's personal, private space, that kind of energy. He's at 11 degrees 50 in Virgo. So he's also connecting a little bit with this Pholos energy as well, which is interesting. Orcus is at 13 degrees 17 of Virgo, so conjunct to Sirius. Orcus is that energy of keeping your oath, keeping your word, being true to who you are, what you have said, what you have agreed to do. And I kind of feel as though this is to do with the alphabet communities. I don't really want to use that word community, but the alphabet, can't think of the word that I would use for that, but like when I talk about the alphabet, I'm sure you're aware of what I'm talking about, but I kind of feel as though that's what this is about. Those people who take an oath and then use that to actually do things that they're not supposed to do, i.e. stalk, spy, take away people's privacy, literally by doing that, by looking in on people's lives when people are completely oblivious to the fact that that's going on. But this is also, I feel, going to become quite a strong theme as we go into the coming months, because Sirius is also going to go across Orcus as well. And I think I'm probably going to finish it there. There is more, but I think I've kind of said everything that I want to say. Oh, I will just say that we do have, before I forgot, yeah, we also have Pandora at 26 degrees 30. So she is conjunct this Neptune energy as well. And Pandora, for those that don't know the story of Pandora, it was Pandora who opened up the box that lets all the suffering, all the nasties into the world. She was tricked in many ways. It was Zeus who gave the box to Mercury, I believe, to give to, I think, was it Prometheus, if I remember rightly? Because he was angry with Prometheus for giving fire to the humans. And so I think he sent Pandora to Prometheus as a gift to trick him. And I think it's Prometheus who had this box, who created this box and had all of the sorrows of the world, all the suffering, all the nasty diseases, etc. in this box. And Pandora was told never to go near it, never to touch it. And of course, human curiosity, which is very much a Gemini thing, curiosity. Oh, I wonder what happens if I do this, kind of thing. Which is how we learn, of course. But it can be a double-edged sword as well. So Pandora opened up the box, and she's also at this time square this new moon energy in Gemini as well, as being a sextile to Pluto as well. So again, a lot more transformational energy happening here. Opening that box. That's kind of what I feel is happening at this time. It's conjunct to Neptune, which is that T-square that we're talking about at this time as well. square with Gemini, with the sun and the moon. Opposing the galactic center. So all sorts of stuff is going to escape from that box, is what I would like to say here. All sorts of unexpected, weird, wacky, coming from the galactic center, energies that are coming in as well. There's going to be a lot of information coming out that has not been allowed to be released so far, is what I want to say about this. And I'm also going to say that I'm going to have to go because my daughter has just arrived home from the holiday that she's been on, so I feel as though it's a good time to finish this. And I would just like to say thank you very much to those of you who have been here and watched my videos, who've shared my videos. Those of you who have liked my videos, please could you like and thumbs up this video as well. Gets the attention and it allows me to let the channel, the platform know that people are paying attention. But for now, I'm going to have to go. And so, sorry I had to finish this so quickly, but please take really good care of yourselves. See you again at the Capricorn full moon.